everyday podcast listeners. I'm your host, Brad Weems, live here from Market Street Media in Johnson City, Tennessee. Today's guest is a coach with us at Thunder Valley. He is the former owner of CrossFit Hard Knocks, former CrossFit Level 1 seminar staff member, and he recently just added the title of a CrossFit Games athlete to his resume with officially qualifying to make the trip to Madison, Wisconsin in July. Today's guest is Ben Plotnicki.
Glad to be here again.
Yes, first ever third time guest
Man,
on the
I feel a
podcast.
little special.
Yeah, you should. I mean, that's probably a bigger accomplishment than making the CrossFit
I
Games.
think it is. I think it is. I'm going to
Um,
walk out here today with my head high on number 3.
so Ben, you were on podcast number 13. We were talking a minute ago that was approximately last March, right before everything kind of hit the fan with the pandemic. So, for listeners, if you want a deeper dive on Ben's story, you can reference podcast 13. That's on my YouTube channel, wherever you listen to podcast app. But Ben, I'm gonna give you a 3 to 4 minute clock. Let's imagine it's a workout at the gym. Give a little a quick background if someone doesn't want to watch that whole 20 segment we did.
If I'm supposed to pretend this is a 3 or 4 minute workout, I'm going to be out of breath. So,
Oh, well, let's don't do that
okay.
then.
All right. Let's not pretend
How,
that.
how about this? I'll just officially set up a clock here.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So, just kind of my adventure and journey through CrossFit. 2007, 2008, somewhere along the way, kind of found the main site and kind of dabbled here and there, but I didn't really devote time 100% to CrossFit until 2009. And at that point in 2009, it was got my level 1. I was 2008, 2009. I was assistant coaching at a box in Jacksonville, Florida, and that's kind of what started the journey. And that time, the games wasn't as big, but 2009 was one of the first years it was kind of big at the ranch, and that really kind of started the journey of wanting to be on that level. And through the past 12 years since 2009, I've made regionals as an individual a couple of times. I've been to regionals as a team, and had never been able to make that next step to be able to go to the games. So the whole pursuit of this time, not just community and CrossFit saved a lot of people's lives, and we can all say that it saved our lives this way or another. And some people it truly has saved their lives. And I'm not going to sit here and say that it did or didn't mind, but it took me away from a path, a very negative path that could have been bad. And it gave me something to express myself within the community, within friends. It gave this mutual suffering with people. And I really, at that point, somewhere along the way, early on, I realized I was blessed with the gift of fitness. I'm a good mover, and I think that's probably the underlying theme of everything. When you look at a lot of the individuals that are at the elite level in all divisions, they're just really good movers. And so I had good mobility from the beginning, and those are kind of some traits that will see shine with the best of the best. It's just good mobility, good movers. So I knew I was blessed with that, and it was just always a goal and a pursuit to be able to chase the games. And this has been ever since Masters Division. I don't remember the exact year. I think 2015 maybe was the first year. And I think 2014, 15 was the very first year that I actually started the Masters Division. And going to the games was an absolute goal. So I linked up with my coach, and I've been with him for about 6 years. And that was the goal from the beginning. The absolute onset was I want to go to the games, and I've trusted the process 100%. The journey, as you hear so many quotes and little anecdotes and those kind of things, that the process for the journey, et cetera. And I don't have any memorized, but that's what it's been. It's been so much fun getting into the grind because I love the grind. I love the training aspect. It's not the end result. Madison is going to be amazing, but it's going to be a blur. I already know it. It's going to come and go. It's going to be 3 of the fastest days of my life. So every day after every session right now, I just kind of sit back and think, man, this is the fun stuff right now. And I know that wasn't, or about 3 minutes right now. I know that wasn't like this huge historical adventure of my CrossFit journey, but it's been 12 years of trying to get where I can say I am now.
That's awesome, Ben. A lot there, but talking about how that's going to be a blur next month, and then the journey. I was listening to the Johnson City Small Business podcast with Ryan McKinney yesterday. He was talking about how he's reading a book by John Wooden right now, and he said, "What was your favorite day if you look back on everything that happened?" And he said, "Just simply a day of practice. It wasn't like it winning a championship; it was the journey." So everything you've put, all this journey and all your hard work is now eventually going to pay off. And congrats, man.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So listeners, when we talk about the Masters division, when you have the CrossFit Open, it used to be 18 and up, and then like Ben was saying a minute ago, 2015 or 16, they started subcategorizing everybody. So you have your 35 to 39 division, your 40 to 44, 45 to 49, so on. Ben, you said you started working with your coach 6 years ago, so you just qualified for the 45 to 49
Correct.
CrossFit Games. So it puts you 39 years old when you're working with your coach the first year.
Mm-hmm.
How did that look? How did the first year working with your coach look as far as your success and how you ranked?
So there was a lot of things that became very clear to me, because at that time when we started working together, there was two goals. The CrossFit Games was one of them,
Mm-hmm.
and qualifying for Wadapalooza in the Masters division. So that was another one.
Okay.
And a couple of the things that I learned that year. So I qualified for Wadapalooza, so I achieved that goal.
Okay.
And came out of Wadapalooza. I did really well. I felt great. It was an amazing experience. And then going into the Open, I had a really good Open, but I think 68th in the world
Okay.
at that Open. And then going into the Masters qualifier that year, you've got Wadapalooza, which was in January, Open, which was at that time traditionally in March, like it's going back towards, and the Masters qualifier was at the end of April, I believe. I learned that I wanted to do really well at Wadapalooza, but I learned as a Masters athlete. Now I wouldn't have learned this if I didn't have a coach that, and when I say a lot of these coaches, they've got data on tons of other athletes. They've got this unbiased opinion. And I don't think if I had had my experience with him, I learned that year that trying to do and excel at Wadapalooza was a big sacrifice for what happened in the end of April. If we would have just said, hey, let's use Wadapalooza as a training experience and not care about how we finish, then I might have had a better outcome when it came to the Open, when it came to the Masters qualifier. But that was this big learning experience for me. And that was a light bulb that said, hey, he knows what he's doing, trust the process, and just know that he has this bigger plan in place. And when I see him in Madison, I'm going to ask him a lot of these big picture things. If at that point he said, if he's like, hey, do we have this skeleton that looks out 5 years? This is kind of where we need to be in the stepping process. Because that would have been the first year in the 40-year-old division. And I wanted it then, but there was too many missing pieces in myself as an athlete. And that's where, when he said, hey, we made a sacrifice early in the year and we didn't pay for it. I don't want to say that's not the right phrase to use. We didn't pay for it at the end of April, but it told me, hey, too many holes in your game. Here's your chance. If you really want this, you got to be hungry. You got to trust him. Put your trust in him, and it's a blind faith. And I can't tell you how many times when I get my week of training, I see things that I just don't really like, but blind faith of knowing that, hey, he has this bigger picture goal in mind, not just what each week in and out looks like.
It's almost like religion in a sense.
And to a certain extent, for sure.
Yeah.
And I am this big believer of the unseen hours. And with such a presence of social media is in our world, mostly only see what people are doing that is really cool or really sexy, or it's going to catch the eyes of people, because that's the goal of this branding and social media, and it's the unseen hours. And for me, that's where the best of the best become the best. It's those unseen hours. Are you doing the little things? Are you paying such attention to your warm up and your cool down? If your coach writes in there 10 minutes of parasympathetic nervous system breathing at a breath tempo, do you do it? Or are you the individual that says, I don't see how that fits in the bigger picture, so I'm just going to skip it? And breathing, we're not going to see many videos. I know there's some breath experts out there in that subject matter field, and they're going to show breath videos, but most people, those are unseen hours. Nobody's going to watch me breathe on Instagram. You know, nobody's going to watch you breathe on Instagram. But it's those little things that I value so much, that I put such a trust in him, that I know it is important in the big picture.
Hmm. So I met you 2019, I believe, and ever since I've known you, you knew this is the year that you were going to go for it.
Mm-hmm.
So what was taking place from 40 to 44 that made you know that this is the year?
I'm talking to my father about this, and he thinks of things in bigger picture sports. When you think of the senior tour in golf, most of the guys that do great in the senior tour are the ones that are just barely eligible. And so they do great just because they're set up for success. They might not be the best golfers that are on the senior tour, but they're just set up to excel over the course of 4 days. And knowing that I had too many holes in my game, too many weaknesses. And when I first went into the 40-year-old division, that being first into the 45, it was important to make this run this year, because next year there's going to be those 45 those 44-year-olds that transition into the division. I mean, there's some tough men and women that are just excellent, stellar athletes that moving into each year. And now this year, it's kind of cool to look at the 35-year-old division, because you're seeing a lot of former games athletes that are now transitioning in. And so 45, it's hey, next year there's going to be so many younger athletes that transition in.
It's like Nick Uranker that I'm having on at 10:30 today.
Absolutely.
Finished 20th as a 34-year-old in the general field.
Yeah.
Goes to 35 first place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the perfect setup. And that dude is so good and so fit. He'll probably be in the top 20 when he's 36, maybe even 37. But when he hits 38, 39, there's going to be some of those,
right,
quote unquote, I'm saying younger guns, and we're just using that as just a kind of colloquialism for each transition.
Right.
It's funny, you were saying Ryan McKinney talking about, and this kind of goes back to the unseen hours and reading John Wooden. I vaguely remember that book, and I don't even know if I finished it. But one thing that I do remember from that book is he talked about teaching kids how to put on their socks. And he would get these 18-year-olds that would come onto a college campus, and everybody knows how to put on socks at a certain age. But John Wooden was so intricate in his details of how to properly put on your socks to play a game of basketball. And part of it was, to minimize blisters and those kind of things too. But when you look at those little intricate details, that every single detail is important. Now, I'm not saying when I go into training that hey, my sock has to be absolutely perfect, but
no, it's the breathing you were just talking about.
Absolutely. It's those little intricate details. And that was one of the most phenomenal things that I remember about that book. And those are the unseen hours. Those are the things that aren't sexy. They're not going to get talked about all that much, but it's still just as important.
Right. Let's talk a little more specific about this season and how much of a roller coaster it was from an emotional standpoint, and just you had, for listeners that don't know, CrossFit had someone purchase the brand a year ago, kind of in the midst of the pandemic. What's his story again?
Eric Rosa, he was Oracle, I believe, is the business that he founded, and he started it from just as a startup, just a small startup. I don't know all the statistics and the details of how many employees he had in the startup from himself and maybe a couple other men and women working for him. And then he built it into this mass conglomerate. And then what somebody purchased, Oracle, a big company, and I'm drawing a blank right now.
Billions.
Yeah, billions and billions of dollars. So here he is just sitting as a CrossFit owner because that's what his passion was. And he's this computer tech guru, business builder. And I don't know how everything went down, but you had somebody step in at the time of need when CrossFit needed a transition. And that's when our society and our culture was going through all the massive awareness at that time. So there was the massive awareness that we were seeing as an American culture, and CrossFit was not uh, not victim to that. They were right in the middle of it because of the previous owner. And Eric Rosen kind of steps in at that right time and makes the purchase. And of course, everybody, there was so many, even Thunder Valley was kind of questioning, is this a transition that we're going to go through with, or are we going to create our own separate
Definitely.
fitness identity?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people gave trust, and he asked for trust from people. And from the outside, we can't speak of what's going on in the inside of things because we don't know what's going on the inner workings with the new CrossFit Inc. But on the outside, for the most part, he's done a lot of really good things, bringing this regional event semifinals, what they're called, what we're going through right now for the individuals and the teams, is something that the community, I think, was really heartbroken when they lost it a couple of years back. 2018 was the last year of regionals. Is that right?
Yeah, you had so many people that knew they were never going to be at your level and potentially compete for the games, but they had that carrot of regionals
Yeah.
that they could make it to and train for.
And even if you couldn't make it to and train, even if you couldn't go as a participant, going as a spectator, it's such a cool feeling to know that if I see somebody in the airport in Europe and I see some nanos, I see some Metcons, we have this connection. It's like a fraternity or a sorority from colleges across the world. You already have this connection because you have this bond that links you together. And even if you were never going to go as a participant, when you go as a spectator, you already are connected with every single human being in that building. And that's what's so beautiful about this community is we can all come together for a celebration of fitness to watch the best of the best compete for their chance to go to Madison and previously California.
And when we talk about the CrossFit community, there's something about suffering together.
Oh, 100%.
And like knowing it doesn't matter how fit you are, if you're giving your all and you're in the battle there with another individual, it's just a unique bond that's unlike anything else in life, unless maybe like the military.
And there are many other aspects that are comparable.
Mm-hmm.
But to be that it's so inclusive where a 60, 70-year-old can go through the same suffering as a good, healthy suffering. It doesn't feel like that at the time, right?
Yeah, I don't know if we need to keep using the word suffering. But, I'm trying to get people over to Thunder Valley. If we keep using the word suffering.
But it's such a beautiful thing that a 60 or 70-year-old and a 40-year-old and a 20-year-old can go through the same exact experience. And in my opinion, it's the opportunity to come out as a better person on the other side.
Without a doubt. I remember just talking about seeing someone around town with nanos or Metcons on before the pandemic last year. I was out of the grocery store and I saw someone with shoes on. Hey, where do you work out at?
Yeah.
Now you've got to be a little more cognitive of people's space and their viewpoints and whatnot. So I don't do it as much, but yeah, it's very common just to walk up to someone and just start chatting it up.
I do remember being in the airport one time, and I think I was coming back from an event somewhere. And this gentleman had on some Ramaleos, some Nike Ramaleos, the Nike's weightlifting shoe. And it was at the one point they only had 2 or 3 colors, the fluorescent green. So this dude's in the airport, has those fluorescent green, and he's got matching shorts. So you knew this dude right now was probably not a weightlifter, but he just like, oh man, those are some fly shoes. I'm gonna grab those shoes. So that's, we're getting to that point.
Weightlifting shoes are heavy duty. I mean, think of the heaviest boots you can wear.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah,
I
we're
mean,
talking about some Timberlands right there.
dude's walking through the airport.
Yeah, yeah. But he was
Wow.
going for style. He was going for style. So it's not a 100% sure shot that if you see somebody with some nanos that they 100% CrossFit, but you got a pretty good chance.
Yeah, you got some posers
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah. Oh, there are for sure.
Anyway, let's go back to the journey, or excuse me,
This year.
Yes, this specific unique season. Okay. So you have the CrossFit Open. That's the initial round of
Yeah.
competition. How did that go for you?
Let me take a step back really quick before we get into that. So it is still speculative. All the signs are there. Never tested positive or anything, but there are still some signs that I had COVID in December, and there's still some signs, and not to go into any of those details, but it was more of this hindsight bias thing where, hey, I can't breathe all of a sudden. Um, you know, antibodies came back positive between my girlfriend and I, or with her, antibodies came back positive, and so hindsight, where during whenever it was, we're like, no way, nothing. And that's probably why it was so long to get rid of this thing, is there's so many people that, no signs, no symptoms whatsoever. So there was the symptoms that came post. And so I remember doing a workout. I'm like, holy cow, man, I feel like I'm dead. The Open's like 2 months away. Am I going to be okay?
Mm-hmm.
So there was already this little bit of mental stress going into the Open, of knowing like, hey, am I recovered from what I didn't think I had, and tried specifically so hard to stay away, truly social distance, wear the mask, the whole 9 yards. And so that was extremely stressful going into the Open. I love the new setup of the Open, which was 3 weeks, because 5 weeks is extremely stressful for even the casual athlete.
Mm-hmm.
5 weeks is extremely stressful, much less if you are a leaderboard, if you're leaderboarding, which has become a verb within the CrossFit community. So the first workout, I joke every year when the first Open workout's released, every year it's going to be super anticlimactic. It's going to come out and everybody's going to say, oh, okay.
Typically the really long one too, 20 minutes.
It long, or just there's nothing, everybody's one. I don't know what everybody wants.
Yeah, nothing wow about it.
No, no.
The 1 year, 7 minutes of burpees.
Yeah. And so, so 7 minutes of burpees. So I remember that year pretty well. And I was in Florida, and that was, I don't remember the name of the band, but there was that song that sang, on my way to California. So I remember that was my goal. I just wanted to 3, 2, 1, go. I wanted that song to come on when I started doing burpees. And so that's just kind of this insight. It would have been 2012?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2012, 2013, something like that. So, that's once again highlighting and reviewing how long this has been very important. But so anyways, we go into wall walks and double unders
This year.
And the one thing I will say with the new format, the way it was, the Open wasn't as stressful as knowing if you're going to make the cut. Even with my fear of whatever might have happened in December, I wasn't afraid of not making the Open. Where in previous years, it's, hey, you're going to do the Open workout and you're going to plan on a redo on Monday. And so Adam, my coach, and I said, we're only going to do redos if you absolutely screw something up. If you just have the worst double under day there is, then we'll look to redo. But otherwise, it was one and done. We were using the Open as a training grounds to the next level, the next step. And there wasn't any roller coasters in the Open per se, just because it was one and done, and had a decent score there. Week 2, I had a phenomenal score. And I don't know what it placed on the leaderboard. I just know I did really well, because that was the repeat from 2015. the snatch and burpee box jump over. And the last time I saw my coach in person, I went to train in Atlanta, I think in February, and I asked him if he had any idea how many burpees that we've done over the course of our training career. And we could not throw a dart at a bulletin board and come or a dartboard and come with a good number, because that was a weakness of mine back when we started, was burpees. And I have done so many burpees.
It's not now.
Yeah.
You're great at some
Yeah,
burpees.
it became a certain point where I said, burpees will not beat me. I will beat burpees. Like physically, mentally, just literally, I will own them. Except when I recently did lateral burpees over a sandbag, and that was pretty annoying, just because that was a large jump over a sandbag.
Yeah, it's a good 2-foot jump.
Yeah, easily. So workout number 2, no big deal. Workout number 3, that was the sexy one that everybody finally wanted. That was the one that everybody wanted, but there was no roller coaster in the Open this year. It was making the top 10% was never a major fear of mine. I finished 52nd in the Open worldwide in the 45 to 49, and that was a pretty good feeling, knowing that I did it on one and done on all of them. And so I was proud of that, but there was still in my back of my mind, is this good enough?
Yeah, so we this new format is very much like a March Madness tournament. And so when you said you felt pretty confident with the Open and knowing that you weren't going to get kicked out, you're basically a Duke that's going against a Cinderella team. You felt pretty confident about it.
Yes.
You're already thinking about your, second round matchup or on down the road.
Duke didn't make the tournament though this year.
They did. That was a bad analogy. But right now, for the games, you had to be top 20 in the world. So you're
Yes.
52nd after the Open.
Yeah.
Now, the Open's unique because you get some lighter loads, some non-high school skill movements. So there are some ninjas out there that can breathe good and move some moderate loads. So you're feeling good even at 52nd.
I'm feeling okay.
Okay. All right.
I'm feeling. Let me put it like this to piggyback off the top of that. I'm confident in my abilities, but I told many people that I think I need some workouts that really fall into my wheelhouse.
Which would be what?
Thrusters,
Mhm.
wall balls, burpees are probably in there, even though they're burpees. They're hard. Rowing, pretty strong at rowing. Double unders. If you're going to give me a wheelhouse workout, it's probably going to be some form of squatting. Some form, whether it's high volume, heavy loads, doesn't matter. Squatting. I love squatting. I want to squat. Double unders and rowing. Those would. So I told a lot of people, I said, at 52nd, back on my mind, top 20, 52 to top 20. I need some workouts in the online qualifier that fall into my wheelhouse.
Mhm.
So that kind of piggybacking off of what you had just asked, I felt like I needed some softballs.
Right. So we get to the second round.
Okay. Workouts come out. I'm bummed.
Why?
I didn't feel that there was one of the workouts that I felt was in my wheelhouse, and the other 4 I didn't feel as confident about. And I remember when the workouts came out, talking to my coach. I had this moment that I wasn't positive. And
Feeling defeated before you even start.
yes, those times where I thought, hey, I need some softballs, I didn't get them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was already feeling a little defeated. So I remember talking to him, and he's very stoic in a lot of things. And he was just like, hey, you're in the same boat as everybody else. And that switch right there. I said, hey, okay, let's go to work.
So this round, you have to submit 2 workouts every day by 3:00.
Correct.
So they announce the workouts on Thursday. You have to submit 2 by Friday at 3.
Correct.
2 by Saturday at 3.
Correct.
The last one Sunday at 3.
Correct.
Okay. First two workouts.
So Thursday night, without boring our audience with so much of the details of everything, of the intricacies of the workout, Adam and I had talked about the layout of here's how I want you to approach it. And we looked at a bunch of different scenarios. And so Thursday night, I was planning on doing two. Coordinated, make sure I had judges, those kind of things, because what was unique about this is we had to submit videos for every single workout. It says in the rule books, if you want to go to the CrossFit Games, you got to submit videos. So you coordinate with your judge, submit your videos, submit your scores. So did the front squat, and I felt good about it. I know I'm pretty strong, so I felt good about it, but I didn't know, man, there's some strong dudes out there. There's some strong ladies out there too. And so I didn't know. I didn't know where I stood in the big picture of that, but I knew it wasn't going to be bad. And then did another workout that was definitely a weakness of mine. It was the handstand push-up. I'm not great high volume gymnastics pressing overhead. And told Adam what it did, and he was like, that's a score that we can live with. It's a score that we can live with. So got those done, got two done Thursday out of the way. Friday morning, come in, and I still kind of laugh about this one in the back of my mind, just because I remember a interaction between you and I, and it was another workout that I wasn't good at. It was the rope climb, GHD, and pistol squats. And once again, squatting. I love pistol squats. I'm good at them, but I didn't feel great about the rope climb and GHDs. And the interaction, I never will forget. There was probably 20 seconds left, and I get off. It was I don't remember the exact sequencing. GHD first?
Yeah, and I think you just got off the GHD.
Just got off the GHD,
and I'm finishing with a personal training client, so I'm catching like the last 2 minutes.
You're in the peripheral. You know what's going on. Hey, I've got a judge. I've got 3 people making sure the videos and everything are up on the up and up. And you just get done, personal training client. And I think in my peripherals, I see you sit down, and I start my rope climb, and you say, lift your legs up. And I'm in the middle of a rope climb, about to touch the target, and I say, I can't.
Yes. I didn't know how tired you were. I've never done that many pistols, sit-ups,
GHDs, and
rope climbs.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, this guy is so efficient with his form. Why is he not lifting his legs right now?
Yeah. And so got done with that one, and I struggled, and it wasn't a great score. And I remember texting Adam and telling him about that, and he says, we might take a hit on that one. And of course, that's the last thing I wanted to hear, was that we might take a hit on that one. But I knew it was going to be a weakness. So submit the scores, and at that point, the leaderboard gets updated at about 4 o'clock. Deadline 3 o'clock. Leaderboard gets updated
Friday afternoon.
And
where are you sitting?
So it was 58th.
Okay.
And I remember sitting at 58th, and I started doing a bunch of math, and I was just bummed out because I thought, hey, I don't think I can make up enough ground.
38 spots is a lot to make up.
Yeah. I was bummed. I was in this just pissy mood. I wasn't in a good mental headspace. I thought there was no way that I could make up enough ground. I didn't think I could do it. And did a workout that night, and it was the wheelhouse workout, the overhead squats and burpee box jump overs. And I had a pretty good time. I had a pretty good score, but I had that one checked off the box. I had that one out of the way. And that one was the one that wasn't due until Sunday. So we had some time to come back on that one. And so then I'm coordinating with you, and like, hey, we're coordinating times to go. So we're 4 workouts in, we got 1 to go, but knowing we could potentially redo another one.
Right.
So coordinating with you, and that one was the 75 power cleans, which just seems like a daunting task on paper, and 300 double unders. And you coordinated, you get done coaching, and I'm warmed up, ready to go. So we're about ready to rock and roll. I think you had to go let the dog out and came back and knew it was going to be ready to go at the time you got in. And we talked strategy. We had this plan, and 3, 2, 1, go. And I just kind of felt like in a good zone. you really judged me on a workout, thrusters and double unders last year, and we got a really good score on that one. And I just felt we had a good vibe. We had a good you knew what to say, when to say it, and what not to say, and just know when to be quiet.
And you can't forget how much Thomas contributed as well.
I do remember in the middle of the double unders him walking away, and he was more stressed that he was going to do something. And I noticed more that he walked away than when he was sitting there. And I remember we had a plan and a strategy, and I remember just like, hey, I'm going to deviate off this strategy just because we're in a groove. Let's go. I don't feel bad. But once again, here we are, no one coming from 58. I just didn't think it was enough.
Yeah, and I remember our goal was to do 15 power cleans a minute, and you looked fresh. Your first rep and your last rep look exactly the same, and I remember you finishing at like 5:26 or something, and I was okay with that 26 seconds being behind. I knew you were good at double unders, and I'm thinking if he can just be efficient with it, we're gonna be okay here. So
let's take a step back really quick before this. So when I was just in a good mood and not a good headspace, there was a certain moment where I looked at internal sports psychology and said, hey, you can either keep feeling bad for yourself, or you can say you're going to finish strong and do the best you can. You've got to, you have to make a choice right now.
That's not even, it doesn't even have to be sports psychology specific. That can be life.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Any aspect of life.
Yeah. And I had this, and I very definitively remember this moment in that afternoon. I have to make a choice. I can either keep pouting, or I have to say, all right, man, it's showtime. You do the best you can, and don't even worry about the outcome. Like, let it go. So then we're, double unders. And of course, when we leaderboard, I remember thinking, man, missing rep 299 to 300. That was my only regret in that workout.
Yeah, so Ben went 25, 25, 25, 25. He's just doing quick breath, reset, back at it. 50, 50.
Mm-hmm.
You hit 200. You said, I'm going to go.
I'm going to go for it.
Hits 60 to get him to 260.
Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to go to 100 unbroken right now.
Gets 39 and then messes up with one rep left.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
That's the one that, so that was Saturday morning. And I go home and I'm talking to my mom on the phone.
Yeah, because the next day was Mother's Day.
Yeah, next day was Mother's Day. And I talked to my mom on the phone, and I'm happy with how we did in power clean double under workout, but I'm still not in this great space. And talking on the phone, and I get a text message.
It's your coach.
It's Adam, my coach, and he says, if you are not fired up right now, you need to be. Fuel up, get some rest. Let's redo and crush tomorrow.
What's your first thought?
My goodness, the adrenaline just felt flowing through my veins. My hair was standing up. I was thinking I was going to be like 23rd, 24th. Like, we've got a fighting chance to go in. Pull up the leaderboard. We're 19th.
You are currently qualified to go.
Yes.
With one workout left.
One workout left. And so here's the thing that goes through my head. The first thing I did is I called Michelle, and it kept going to voicemail. And I called her like 8 times. And because I was just in this euphoric state. I know I teared up. All this, I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. This has been part of the journey to get to this point, to have this opportunity. And I just wanted to tell her so bad. And I just remember standing outside, just in the sun, just like being so joyous, so overcome with energy, so filled with excitement, but nervousness.
Mm-hmm.
As many kids dreaming to be a professional athlete, you dream of hitting the walk-off home run, the walk-off grand slam, catching the Hail Mary, draining the putt on the 18th at the Masters. You dream of all these scenarios of winning. And in my mind, this was that opportunity.
Yeah, you took the lead at the Masters with 2 holes left.
Yeah.
Real quick before we go to Sunday, we've got some chatter here. We got
Okay,
we got some people watching.
All right.
Aaron Big Taste Flanagan apparently doesn't know you that well because I told everybody, I said, if you got any questions for Ben, shoot them over. He said, what genre or song would help you get in the zone before a comp? Aaron, Ben is infamous for not really listening to music or even caring about what is playing whenever he's working out.
Now, let me say this too, though. I'm fine with just a beat, even if it was classical music,
Mm-hmm.
because to me, it's the calm before the storm. Just get so zoned out and so focused and in tune with my body that even classical music, and so that's a phenomenal question by Aaron, because it is the ongoing joke about me and music that I don't need music to fire me up, but anything can get me in the mood as long as it's not, some of the.
Okay, so they've mentioned 4 or 5 songs here. So just give me a yay or nay here.
Okay.
Leighton at Market Street Media says "My Humps" by Black Eyed Peas.
I can work with that.
Yeah,
I can work with that.
That's a yes.
Lizzo, I can't do Lizzo.
No Lizzo. Okay.
Yeah.
Tim Anderson says he looks like a Miley Cyrus guy. Probably
Wrecking Ball.
that's what Leighton said. It has to be Wrecking Ball.
Yeah.
But Party in the USA, yes or no?
I can roll with that.
Yeah. Okay.
Energy. I love Energy.
Corey Harper says if he's climbing a rope, it has to be Wrecking Ball. All right, let's get back to Sunday, guys. You all, if you want to interject on the podcast, keep commenting in the comments, and we'll. Keep
I will
base.
say this: Danzig, Mother.
Okay.
Like, just internal fire.
Okay.
Danzig, Mother. Yeah, that'll.
I like some bass and nectar.
Okay, yeah, I like some because I love down tempo, just kind of chilling at home, and to me, just the beat and the rhythm, I just get lost in it.
Yeah,
just get absolutely lost in it. And music can easily get me off track. Last night I had a long running session that Michelle did with me, and it was supposed to be 30 to 40 minutes continuous running at a conversational pace. And we found a great 80s station on Fit Radio, I think it was.
I saw you on the Air Runner. That's a long time on the Air Runner.
It was a long time on the Air Runner. So 30 minutes on the Air Runner, but to maintain conversational pace, we were singing with the 80s.
Oh,
man. Toto, Africa. That's one of my favorites.
And you closed last night, so you're doing this at like 7.
Yeah.
Yuck. Like I said, y'all keep interjecting.
Okay.
We're going to talk about Ben now. It's Saturday night. And he is in 19th place with 1 workout to go.
Yep.
All right. So take us from there, Ben.
All right. So now, man, golly. And I got to give a shout out to all the mothers in the world. My girlfriend being so supportive. Michelle, as supportive as she is. Like, that is a blessing, because here we are going into Mother's Day, and it's about me.
Mm-hmm.
It's about me and my journey for the CrossFit Games, and it's Mother's Day. That is one of the worst feelings I have ever had in my mind, because we're going into Mother's Day. So I reach out to you and Josh and Chris and everybody. I'm like, hey, golly, guys, it's Mother's Day. If you can share 20 minutes of your day for me, please help out. And it's Mother's Day, and it's about me. And that is just not a good feeling. But so we coordinate, we've got a good crew of people there. And the thing that stands out in my day with that workout, it was 12.96 of overhead squats and burpee box jump overs. And Adam says, hey, you don't have to you just need to shave at least 20 seconds. You don't have to do a lot. You don't have to set it on fire. We just need to shave about 20 seconds. And Josh King was, hey, have you thought about doing this, the strategy of the burpee? I'm like, nope, I'm going. I'm going to go down in a blaze and succeed or fail. I'm like, there's no strategy on my burpee whatsoever. I'm going ham. And 3, 2, 1, go. And we sold out. Everybody there. And I have no idea, guys, what song was on, so I'm sorry. When because it was 3:52, I think, which is about the length of one song on average, and I have no idea what song was on. Couldn't tell you.
It was what Leighton listens to all the time. That non-copyright.
Yeah.
What Leighton? Girl Talk.
Mm.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. So, and I just remember I went. It hurt. It hurt so good. It felt so good, and we shaved about a minute off. I think it was like 56 seconds or something. And at that point, it was close the chapter on that day and that weekend and celebrate Mother's Day.
4:00 Sunday. Leaderboard.
Leaderboard comes out. I'd already forgot about that part. 12.
Moved up.
Moved up.
Awesome.
But that feeling at 12 wasn't as amazing as that feeling at 19th.
Yeah.
That was going from 58th to 19th was a much bigger feeling to know that, hey, here's your shot.
Yeah.
And 19th to 12th wasn't as, it was like, hey, I had a job to do. I went to work and I did what I was supposed to do.
So this is what 6 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
And you just finally get the email last week, 2 weeks ago.
What?
2 weeks
Two
ago
Wednesdays ago.
Yeah.
2 Wednesdays
2 weeks ago yesterday.
So we're on 8 days.
Yeah. So that's the reason we're just now having this podcast, even though you technically had already qualified.
Right. Because I know there's a lot of maneuvering, and I remember that next week I got an email from HQ saying, hey, your video 1 stands up, check. My buddy, really, really close friend of mine, really good friend of mine in Arizona, he got a video saying he lost 90 seconds. And had he not gotten that email, I don't think I would have had such a stressful time of like, hey, let's not celebrate yet until it's official. Had I not had that close representation of him and him losing, he lost 3 spaces on a leaderboard, 3 or 4 spaces on the leaderboard. So had that not happened to him, I wouldn't have had the feelings of let's not celebrate anything yet until we know it's official.
Makes sense. So we talk about this CrossFit community.
Yeah.
And how awesome it is.
Yes.
With that being said, it is our responsibility as Thunder Valley to help Ben out as much as possible when it comes to the costs that are at hand in traveling to Madison, supporting Ben, representing Thunder Valley. So we want to have a fundraiser for Ben, and I think Ben and I have stapled down July 10th.
That is correct.
It's going to be that morning. Are we going to call it a one workout competition, or
I don't want to call it a competition because this is, I mean, even though I am blessed with the opportunity to get a chance to do what I've always dreamed of doing, it is an opportunity for me to work out with people that I don't normally get a chance to work out with. So to me, that's a celebration. That's not a competition to me. That's a celebration. Because let me tell you this, back in the day and the beginning of my journey and doing competitions, I would always have positive self-talk when they're about to say 3, 2, 1, go in a competition, that I would always say, this is just me working out with friends I don't normally work out with. And that's just one of the things I would always tell myself to help ease my nerves. So, and that's how I want that July 10th, that Saturday, to be. I don't want it to be a competition. I want it to be that opportunity to share an experience that is so special and dear to my heart with individuals that I don't always get a chance to work out and share that experience with.
So July 10th, we're having a one workout celebration.
Yes.
Cool. Love it. We are going to have a recommended donation. Don't feel obligated to do that.
Your sweat and your effort is the only thing that I ask. We've got that. And then a GoFundMe page that I also have. But your sweat and your effort is all that I really want and need.
And by the way, I think Leighton's going to post that link in the comments here. We're talking Bloody Mary and Mimosa Bar that morning. Nikki Giles over at Holy Taco North is donating free food to help Ben and his cause. So you guys will be having some delicious food from Holy Taco North. And then we're talking t-shirts as well.
Yes.
So you'll get a t-shirt for showing up that day and donating. So
We don't know what the workout is yet. That is something that I've already talked to Adam, my coach, about and saying, hey, I do want this to be community based and I do want it to be pretty inclusive. But I also want it to kind of fit into the big picture of our goal. Because at that point, we'll be 2 weeks out, I believe, before make the trek up north.
Yep.
So it'll still be kind of big picture of overall training goal, but there is going to be some inclusivity.
So one of the funny things with us having 3 different programs at the gym, you have CrossFitters that are scared to death of some of the stuff that Fit Club does.
Yes.
You've got Fit Clubbers that are scared to death to do what some of the CrossFitters do.
Yeah.
So our goal on July 10th, if we got this correct, is to have kind of a matchup that both programs are going to feel comfortable doing and pushing that.
That is the goal.
So,
and hopefully the weather will be kind to us, that we can have the bay doors up nice and high, good airflow, good just running or whatever might be involved.
just a bunch of good feels.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, then I want to wrap up. Let's talk about what your mind space is right now as you're getting ready to head to Madison in a couple months.
Yeah. I honestly don't think much has changed. I'm still, I look at, I've got a job to do. I've got to put in the work and I've got to put in good effort and just try to be as clean and crisp and precise as I can on my movement. It's just another opportunity to compete with some friends that I don't normally get a chance to work out with, and a place that I've never worked out before on a stage that is the ultimate stage. But I'm just know I've got to put in work. That's it. I know it kind of sounds cliche where, the Bill Belichick, well, we're on to Cleveland. We're on to Cleveland. And I know that sounds kind of cliche, but I take one day at a time in my workouts and whatever I have in store. I've got a ruck run next week. I've got to throw on a rucksack, and I think it's a 6,000 total meters I've got to do.
Is that 3.5 miles?
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Okay,
a long time to be moving.
Yeah, definitely.
So my headspace is good. The biggest thing is I want to stay healthy, trying to make sure that get the best sleep that I can and keep fueled. I actually was about 4,400 calories yesterday. And so I'm trying to keep my calorie intake to help support training and recovery.
Okay.
And so that's where my headspace is for the most part, is just do those little things.
How would you define success at the end of the 3 days? If you finish last place, was it still successful?
As long as I gave the best effort that I could for those 3 days.
Okay.
Because I've earned the right to be there. So that is a success in that point. If when I get there and I don't give 100%, then no, that's not a success. And that's a I don't think that's not a reflection on who I am by any means. But I've always had this internal dialogue with myself that what I do in the sport will not define me as a human being. It's just a chapter in the book of my life that I'm pretty blessed with, that I work hard, and I'm blessed with this opportunity.
Cool. The one question I ask every single guest, coming off of what it would be, would you say this is your biggest accomplishment in your life? From an athletic standpoint?
From an athletic standpoint, because it was a big goal that's been there the whole time. I wouldn't put it as the biggest accomplishment ever, because I think we should always be shooting for big targets as goals as human beings. And are any of them comparable? I think all of them have their own individual place in your personal space. But this, as far as an athletic adventure, yeah, this is a big one.
So the one question I have for every guest, you just made the CrossFit Games. After that 3-day weekend's over, how does Ben Plotnicki keep getting better every day?
Constantly evaluating myself as a human being. And I have a personal goal to be a Renaissance man, to just be super well rounded. And I always want to make sure that I'm trying to achieve personal growth. As far as my fitness goals go, I don't know what the next chapter is, but I know that I've made a lot of sacrifices in this journey to get here when it comes to the time and training and everything. Fitness goals will change once I close this chapter in my life, but I'll figure out and evaluate what it is. We've taken up, Michelle and I have taken up dance lessons here recently. So maybe it'll be a dance competition. Who knows?
Maybe you're following in Harrison Wexler's footsteps and you're the next star on Dancing with the Stars, taking place June 26th.
So I know I danced around your question, but for me to get better every day, it's constantly trying to do things that make me uncomfortable and being able to get comfortable with that uncomfort to force me to grow. So that's a very general answer.
That's always my last question of the podcast, but I got one more for you.
All right.
Are you going to do this again next year?
No.
You going to try and qualify next year?
Nope.
You promise?
Yeah.
This is it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You get 4th place this year. You're not going to try and get podium next year?
Nope.
All right, Michelle, you hear it right there. He is all yours come August.
Yeah, she's taken, and I know you're trying to wrap this up and we keep going and going here. She's taken trips, and I haven't wanted to miss training time because of that. And I hate that she has gone on adventures with her and her son, and I haven't been able to be a part of that. And those are sacrifices that I'm making right now that I'm not willing to make for the rest of my life.
And for people that don't know, Lincoln, Michelle's son, he's had this goal of going to every single state.
Yeah.
Where's he at?
A lot. A lot. I mean, he might even be close to even with Michelle and I.
$86,000 worth, a lot.
I mean, he's a lot of the West Coast states, but that's about it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and Wisconsin is one of them that's not on there yet. So get a chance to experience that together.
Good deal, Ben. I'm not used to 57-minute workouts. I'm feeling a little fatigued right now, and I'm back up in 30 minutes.
Yep.
So, and that guy's he's pretty fit too.
Yeah, he is pretty fit.
So
two games athletes in one day.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Ben, thank you for hopping on this morning.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's a pleasure. Leighton's gonna plug in the GoFundMe, I believe. Is that true? Okay.
I'll be getting a Facebook event page together.
July 10th.
For July 10th.
An event with friends, a celebration of friends and fitness.
A one workout celebration.
Yeah.
But you guys can hang out all morning. We're going to have kind of like a modified version of the workout at 8 a.m., a little more high skilled at 10. I don't know, maybe we'll just hang out and eat at 9.
And maybe I'll do a third one after some holy taco.
There we go. Better Everyday Podcast listeners, I appreciate you hanging out with us this morning. I'll be back up in 30 minutes, so we'll see you then.
All right. Thanks, guys.